So we're going to cover a lot about both TikTok and Instagram Reels. There is a lot of leeway in the fact that there's a lot of tips here that cover both, but there are some differences between the two platforms, which is why I have a lot to cover. So feel free to take notes, take screenshots, and again, you can email me after today's presentation if you want access to the video, and we'll try to post it on our website as well, so that way you can get on-demand access whenever necessary. But as always, before I usually start off any of my presentations, I just like to ask to get a general read. On a scale of 1 to 3, how comfortable do you feel using TikToks or Reels? With level 1 being you've done this before, you're pretty freaking comfortable. You just want to know some new and added tips. 2 being you've made a couple, but you're not a pro yet and you want to know how to improve. And 3 being you have not even tried making these. So feel free to leave your responses in the chat. My goals for all of my presentations is to try to turn the 2s into 1s and the 3s at least into 2s, if not to 1s. But there's no shame in being a 3. I see we have 2 3s, 1 2. So hopefully I can turn these 3s into 2s and you guys can get a little bit more comfortable with these platforms going forward. Just a little bit about me. Outside of FastForward U, I do work still in the content realm. I'm ready to upgrade. Me too. I always enjoy learning new tips, so I'm happy to share these with you guys. But yeah, I work for marketing for FastForward U, so anything as far as our social media goes, I do that. But outside of FastForward U, I work in the beauty and fashion industry as a content creator. So this is something that I myself have been experimenting with 24/7, and I've really loved creating content on both Instagram Reels and TikTok. It's a lot of fun. And I kind of just want to break down the barriers and let you know that it's super easy to do. Some of it might be time consuming, but once you get the hang of it, you can create awesome content for businesses, for your personal pages, etc. And my content background, as well as my expertise in the beauty industry prior to becoming a content creator, has helped me to grow a steady following and community. And I hope that these tips are something that you find credible and things that will work for you. All right, so let's get first way, let's talk about the really stereotype that goes with TikTok and Reels, which is a lot of people think that TikTok, especially, is just for Gen Z. It's not meant for anybody who knows anything about the 90s or earlier. And Reels, a lot of people assume that Reels are meant for comedy videos or entertainment videos, both of which are somewhat true, but it's not completely true. So I want to take the just out of these statements and say that TikTok and Reels are made for everyone and they're made for all types of content. But these two particular groups are important. So I don't want to confuse anyone, but just know that you are able to go on TikTok and Reels. You're never too old to do that. So my first tip is breaking down how to really figure out how these things work. I always like to go into the algorithm before I do anything else because the algorithm is like this big mystic being that a lot of people like to blame all of their issues on, but it's really simple on both TikTok and Instagram's ends. So I want to break it down so that way it makes more sense to you as you're creating content. When it comes to Instagram Reels, their algorithm is no different than the overall Instagram algorithm, which is basically they favor app usage. So if you can create content that encourages people to stay on the app longer because it's a video or because it's something that's engaging or makes them want to wait for what comes next, then your content is going to be boosted in the algorithm and it'll be preferred. So knowing that when you're making Instagram Reels, you want to just create shareable content. So these are some of the tips that I have for Instagram Reels, and these do cross over to TikTok and their algorithm, which I'll get to in a second. But Reels prioritizes entertaining content, things that are funny, or things that are interesting. Basically, anything that, again, is encouraging people to stay on the app for a longer period of time. One mistake that a lot of people make when making Reels or TikToks is they make them personalized, which is great, but sometimes it can be too specific or too personalized to the point where it's you promoting yourself and not really showing a relatable side of you. So you want to make sure that if you do like vlog style reels or TikToks, that there's still something that's interesting and relatable there for your audience to relate back to. And that's just because your audience determines whether or not you are boosted in the algorithm. So whenever you're creating a piece of content, just make sure at the end of the day, you can answer the question of whether or not this will relate back to the people you want it to. Instagram Reels also prioritizes content that grabs attention, has a hook. It's similar to writing an article and having a really good headline. You want to do the same thing with the structure of your reel and really catch people's attention in the first 5 seconds because we all know that attention spans have been shortening over time. So it's really important to catch someone's attention at the very beginning of your content. Another thing too is any reels that have a fun twist. This is another way to get people to not only stay on for your content, but more likely to share it because they might find it engaging or funny in some way because they find something unexpected that they want to share with their own community. Instagram Reels also prioritizes the use of their tools. And this is for any type of social media platform, not just Reels, not just TikTok. If the more tools that you utilize, the more that your content will be prioritized because you're showcasing that this social media app has a lot of different things to offer and you're sharing that with your community. So make sure that you use text filters, camera effects, etc. whenever you're creating reels. Vertical content is something that I have to stress, and a lot of people forget about this or they try to find their way around it. And I have also been guilty of this in the past. If you are repurposing content, so you have content that you might have filmed for your business or for your own page online, on a website, or on YouTube, do not post it on Reels or on TikTok if it's going to be horizontal with black bars on both ends because it doesn't look good and it's not going to be prioritized in either algorithm. There are a lot of different apps nowadays that you can input horizontally filmed content and repurpose it or reframe it in order to make it vertical. And in fact, even though this slide is about Reels, TikTok actually has a feature on their business account in which it really helps you to edit your horizontal content specifically for that story or vertical format. So this is something that I always stress. Please never post anything horizontally filmed online on a social media site because it just looks terrible. And then the last thing about Reels and what they prioritize is anything with music. And this is a really easy way to find relevance and be trendy. I'll talk about it later on how to get there. But both Reels and TikTok have a whole list of the top songs that are trending on these apps now. So just utilizing them in your post is a really quick and easy way to grow. So you want to experiment with all of these different things, both on Instagram and TikTok, in order to grow. But there are some things you don't wanna do, and specifically with Reels, they just don't like any bad content, basically, so obviously, if it's blurry, people don't like it. If they can't hear it well or the lighting's bad, they don't like it. One thing I wanna point out is also recycled content, which is something I am also guilty of, and it's really easy to recycle content from TikTok to Reels, but it doesn't help you at the end of the day. I'll get into what to do to avoid this, but basically, if you post a TikTok and you save the TikTok, you're going to have the watermarks on the TikTok video. And a lot of the times, what we've been doing, especially when Reels first came out, is downloading your TikToks that you've already made because you've made that content and then just uploading it on Reels. That's cool and all, but the algorithm now, it was just recently updated about 2 weeks ago. Instagram will not prioritize TikTok content because it is a competitor at the end of the day. So if your videos have a TikTok watermark, you're less likely to be seen past your main audience that always engages with your post. And that's really important because Reels is one of those tools that helps you be seen way quicker and easier by people who've never seen your account and can help you grow with new exposure. So you don't want to risk hurting that by having TikTok watermarks. Again, I'll go over how to get rid of that, but just as a warning, if you're going to repurpose and use TikTok content and Reel content on both, make the Reel first because when you save it from Instagram, it doesn't have a watermark, and then you can upload it to TikTok. But don't do it the other way around. Um, Also, again, just anything with borders, anything that doesn't look like it's authentic to the app will not be prioritized. And although they want you to use text, make sure you're not using too much because at the end of the day, Reels is supposed to be more visual and engaging through video. So if it's too much text to the point where people are just stuck reading everything, they're probably not going to stay on long, and so your content will not be prioritized. Now, with TikTok, the algorithm is a little bit simpler in the fact that it is meant to be a marketing machine in the sense that it helps to kind of even the playing field of marketing on TikTok. What I will say about this is that it was meant to be that way. In theory, TikTok is supposed to be a great way for you to experiment more so than any other social media site to grow. But there have been a lot of pushback with TikTok and them not showcasing certain creators based on different privileges, backgrounds, etc. So it's one thing that I just wanted to also make a note that this is in theory of TikTok's algorithm, but essentially you still have to work and kind of find your way through it. So with TikTok, it wants to value anybody who's super creative. So a lot of the times you'll see more creative posts on TikTok than Reels. You'll see really cool transitions that people do with their videos, really cool hack and tip videos. So this is a great way also just to make a TikTok account to get ideas for your brand. If anything else, if you already have an Instagram and you want to start off with Reels before you take on TikTok, I'd recommend still downloading the app and checking out different things so you can get some ideas. This is a breakdown of the algorithm for TikTok. It's less linear than the Instagram one, but again, it's pretty basic in the essence of trying to understand it. So, TikTok values these three things. First, user interaction, which again is no different than most social media sites. The more that people interact with your post, the higher it will go in the algorithm. But it also does take into account video information and account settings. And basically, what this means is for the video information, the length of your video, where the video is coming from. Again, if you have something that's coming from like a YouTube and it's horizontal, it'll kind of take that into account and see whether or not it should promote it. And then also the information that you place on the video. So if you use alternative text when posting, if you post hashtags, especially if you're trying to get on the For You page, all of these things matter with TikTok. And TikTok is a very hashtag heavy site more so than any other social media site. So hashtags are super important whenever you post, and it will take into account the hashtags and make sure that what you're using is actually related to your post. Because a lot of the times you can find the trending hashtags easily on TikTok and everyone will use them even if it doesn't relate to what they're posting, and that can actually hurt you. So you want to make sure if you're using something trendy, it does relate back to what you're doing. And then for account settings, this is just about whether or not your account on TikTok is a regular account, a creator account, or a business account. For most people who are going to be watching this, I'm assuming that they have a business account. So usually for business and creator accounts, the TikTok algorithm does kind of boost you a little bit more because it knows that you are trying to promote something for other people to utilize. The only difference between business and creator is essentially the copyright music that you can use as a business. I tested out the different accounts and I found that I had more limitations over what trending sounds I could use when I had a business account versus a creator account. However, the business account does have a lot more editing capabilities on the back end that can help you promote your business as opposed to the creator account. But again, you can play around with all of these depending on what you're creating your TikTok for. And this will also play into whether or not you're promoted. What I will say is, if you're trying to engage with people for your business or as an individual content creator, I would recommend making a creator or business account as opposed to a regular account because the regular ones are not promoted as heavily. And then also on TikTok, they definitely hands down value watch time and shares over comments and likes. Comments and likes are a great way for you to kind of see who your audience members are, what they're thinking, how they feel about your content in real time. But really, what matters is bringing up your watch time and having more people share your content because, again, it's showcasing to the app that you make great content enough that people really like it and want to keep using the app. So, after throwing all of this information to you guys, here's my list of some of the things that you should do now so that you know how the algorithm works. So, again, creating shareable content is the biggest goal here. You want people to utilize both of these apps so that way the apps see that you're doing great and they can promote your content moving forward. Again, going back to having a strong hook, but also having a good ending for your reels. Sometimes it's kind of hard when you have like a storyline in your head of content and then you get to the end and you're like, how am I supposed to close this off? So make sure you have some type of call to action for your users, whether it's checking out a link in your bio or doing these three tasks or whatever your industry is, so that way they feel like they could walk away with something very easily. Again, if you want to repost, do the reel first, then post on TikTok so you don't have a watermark. And creating the videos that build anticipation again kind of goes back to the whole thing about shareable content, keeping users on. But one thing that I think is really cool is this idea of looped videos. This always gets me, especially on TikTok. If you can create a video loop and film something to the point where people can't really tell when that video ended versus when it starts, it makes the user kind of stay on your video three times as long because they're watching it and then they hesitate in realizing that they've already seen the full thing. So this is a really great trick for getting people to stay on your content a little bit longer. And then again, just having really good content, sticking to the basics, having good lighting, good sound, etc. Alrighty, so now to tip number two, which is finding your niche. This is something I always stress to people. It's easier if you have a business that you're trying to promote because you have your industry, you already know what it is, it's pretty clear what your purpose is. But a lot of the times, people want to do too much, and sometimes that can hurt you. So at the end of the day, you want to think of why should someone follow you, and keep that question in the back of your head whenever you create your content. So an essential content strategy that I have to share is you have three things you want to do with your content. You want to build the awareness, you want to have people interested in what you're doing, and you want them to also trust you enough to build that community on your page and come back and talk to you about whatever industry you're in. And these things will essentially relate back to that question of why should people follow me? So, for example, with FastForward U, we want our content to relate back to student life and entrepreneurship. So every time that we create a piece of content, we're trying to build awareness of what we do, where our space is. We're trying to also let students know we have a background in entrepreneurship, we have mentors, we have different things that you can really trust in us. But we also want to know how you guys feel. We want to know about the student life. We know that it's the struggle trying to be an entrepreneur and a student at the same time, to really build that community and that conversation on our content. And by doing that consistently, it allows for students to come back to us and follow us because they know that they can rely on us to give them entrepreneurship content and student life content. So your niche should reflect your startup's industry. Again, you shouldn't be like a food tech startup and making TikToks about the sky. Like, it should be something that makes sense as you start to grow. If you become a content account that has like millions of followers, every now and then you can create a piece of content that doesn't rely on your industry or relate to it. But for the most part, you want to stick to the same industry. So again, if you have any struggles, these are just some points to think about, thinking about your target audience just as you would your business. And then sticking to what your target audience likes to see. And again, like I said, for TikTok and Reels, sharing the content and the watch time matter more so than the likes and comments. But this is one of those opportunities in which you can take a look at the comments and likes and see what your audience resonates with more. And if they ask you questions for certain pieces of content, or if they're having different feedback that they give you, it can kind of let you know where you need to steer yourself in your industry and in your niche when creating content. So I have two examples of not niching down and niching down. When I first started with TikTok, I downloaded it at the very beginning of the pandemic because that's what we all did because we were super bored. And the first thing I did was I actually started uploading old videos I had that I might have posted on Snapchat or Instagram that I just thought were funny. And as you can see, I didn't get many views from that because I didn't have a clearly defined niche. I didn't really give anybody any value in the content. It was just stuff that I thought was funny. So what I did was I pivoted, and actually for me, it's really weird because I consider myself to be more of a beauty content creator than a fashion content creator. I do a little bit of both, but my main market is beauty. But I found that on TikTok, people actually like my fashion-based TikToks more so than anything else. So I started doing how to style different videos, and they got a lot more views. And so try to stick to that niche now of doing more fashion-based videos because that's what people like to see. They can rely on it, and it strikes a conversation when people go, "Oh, I didn't know that this is a way to style something." So it also encourages that use of the app, saving, sharing, etc. And then this is also another example of trending. And I want to talk about this because I think a lot of people don't get it, especially if you're new to apps. So on TikTok and Reels, they both have pages in which you can go and you can see trending sounds, or you can see just trending patterns or ideas. And one of the trending sounds back in November, December was a sound bite from the Grinch, and a lot of people were using it. And the one thing when it comes to using trending sounds is that, to me, as someone who's always on content, I view things all the time, so I kind of get the trend. But if you don't take the time to understand a trend, you can easily use a piece of content and it doesn't relate to anything, and then it's just a waste of your time. So for trending sounds, you want to see if one, you can understand the trend and see like what funny or humored angle people are taking, and then see if you can relate it back to your niche. So for me, obviously, I don't have a Grinch niche, but I was able to relate the soundbite back to something that related to beauty. And again, it worked in my favor. So this is another thing that you can do to help grow. You can use trending things to your advantage, but I just want to stress that you have to make sure you understand it. And I'll get into that a little bit more later because I've seen a lot of people use trending sounds that don't make any sense. So we'll get into how to avoid that. Next is tip three, which is starting to create your content. Now you understand the algorithm, you understand what to expect and what industry you should probably be going into, or at least the fact that you need to narrow yourself down. So now you have to start creating. And a lot of the times, one of the questions is, what do you do when you find a TikTok reel that you really like? And that's usually share it. So that's what, again, you're trying to aim to do. That's like the theme of today's presentation. So here's my list of basic creation tips. Um, and the first one being to film everything outside of the apps. Both Reels and TikToks have app editors. You can film your videos inside the app, and they're both pretty similar. They're not that much different in how you maneuver your sounds and your clips and edit them down and whatnot. But I find that the easiest way to know that you're getting all the footage to work with and it's not as frustrating is filming everything outside of the apps first, whether that be on a camera or on your phone, and then importing them into the apps and editing from there. The only time that I personally don't film outside of the apps and I film in the apps is if I'm using a trending sound effect that I can't search online because it's like someone's voice or a trending sound that's just random from a TikTok that went viral. For those, you might have to time them specifically, so then you would have to film and edit within the app completely. But if it's just to a song, you could honestly just search it on YouTube while you're filming, so that way you kind of know what your timing is and film everything outside. It will make your life a lot easier. Again, stick with vertical. I felt really slow when I realized this, but I didn't realize that most camera tripods do flip up so that you can just film vertically. I did not realize this, and I've been creating content for a very long time until like 6 months ago. So if you film on a camera and you want that better quality, you can still film vertically. And I recommend this because, again, the vertical format of the camera being held sideways when you film will still work when you edit it down on social media. So you can totally do that. I just recommend if you're going to film on your camera, use the back facing camera and not the front facing camera whenever possible because your quality will be higher. Again, finding music first also helps because it just gives you an idea of what your storyline is, how much time you have in your reel or TikTok to put your content in, and it just kind of creates the theme beforehand. It's a lot harder to have an idea and then not know what the music is in the background. So I recommend searching music first. And again, on both apps, they have a little tab. You can search any songs on both apps, but they also have a tab for trending sounds. And if you're going to use a trending sound and you're talking per se in the video, you can just pick any trending sound and then lower the volume enough so that your TikTok or your reel is upped in the algorithm for using something trendy, even if you're not really relating to it that much. Um, in the filming in the app, test transitions. Okay, so this is something that I do all the time, and this is what makes TikToks and real filming take like way longer than you'd think for like a 30-second bit. But if you are filming inside the app because you have something you have to time it to, or you're testing out a really cool transition, make sure that every piece that you do, you test out the next piece before you actually film it. For example, I'm gonna relate back to my industry just because I do this all the time. In the beauty industry, a lot of the like easiest TikToks to do is to do like a before and after, before you did your makeup and after. And there's always some type of transition, whether it's a hair flip or like you're closing a door and then you're there and you're made up. So what I recommend is if you're going to film something like that, let's say we're doing a door transition where you open a door and the scene is different. You want to film the first half where you're closing the door and stop it in the app, and then before you even move everything around, before you make yourself over to do the opening of the door, just film in a separate clip the opening of the door to make sure that the two clips would match up anyways, because sometimes you'll see that you have to refilm the first one over again. If that makes any sense, I hope it does. But basically what I'm saying is if you're doing any type of cool transitions, test it before you actually officially film it because it can go bad real fast and then you've wasted a lot of time. I also said give yourself just as much time as you would for filming a YouTube video, and that goes along with it. One of the longest TikToks I ever filmed, the TikTok was 25 seconds, and I filmed it in 5 hours. So sometimes it takes a long time, but it's worth it when the content is really great and it's shareable. So don't assume that a TikTok or a reel is going to take you 5 minutes because that's rarely the case. Again, always keep in mind what's trending. We'll talk about trending and relevance a little bit later on, but you want to keep this in mind on top of keeping your value in mind. What can you provide? Why are people coming to you? And lastly, have fun. There's a lot of tips that I'm throwing at you guys today, but if there's anything that I want you to take away, it's to not be nervous about trying these things out. Everyone is testing these things out. We're all trying something new. These pieces of content are supposed to be relatable and fun. So you should have fun when doing them and not stress yourself out or stretch yourself too thin if you're the only person on your marketing team trying to work towards it. Here are some more tips. I won't go through all of these for super long, but again, just make it shareable. Focus on your length. A lot of people like to make things super long, and you want to make sure that you make them just the right amount of length that people will watch it without you giving them too much to the point where they'll leave before. And another note here is that Instagram Reels, unfortunately, will only give you at this point 30 seconds of content, whereas TikTok, you can film up to a minute. So if you are ever thinking about doing content that you can post both on TikTok and Reels, you could either do a shorter version on Instagram Reels and the full version on TikTok and promote people to go to your TikTok, which is a good idea, or you could stick to the 30 seconds because otherwise you're going to have to cut off your reel. Again, have your hook. You should also have a content calendar, and this does not have to be anything super fancy. For me, I just go on whatever calendar I use for my job or for myself. So it'll either be Google Calendar or Microsoft, and I just kind of start to pinpoint and plan some evergreen content for the next like 2 or 3 weeks ahead so that I have ideas to bounce off of. But I also do stress when you do content calendars for Reels and TikToks, leave yourself some room to change your idea daily because of what's trending. If you find something that's trending tomorrow that relates to you, push back your evergreen content for tomorrow and film that instead. Again, the planning ahead is nothing new, what I haven't touched on. Just knowing your niche, getting inspiration from around you, and really sticking down to your industry and creating content that adds value. This is nothing new, and it's something that you should do for all of your content, but especially on Reels and TikTok. So we're on to tip number 4, which is how to use these things for your business. And what I like to tell people is that your business is supposed to be human. One of the marketing techniques that we do here in the US and a lot of other countries actually don't do because we're kind of weird, is that we think of our brands and our businesses as people when we think about our audience. You know, what does my brand sound like? What would they look like? What would they do on a Friday afternoon? These are things that are marketing techniques that we do in business, and you should be doing the same thing on your TikTok and Reels. TikTok and Reels is not meant for your business to go on and make like a commercial and it be super formal and you not relate to anyone. It's supposed to be something where you really personalize, you take down all of the filters, you take down all of the fancy glamour behind your business, and you show the reality behind it. And this is great because you can get these 3 points from doing so. You can be inspirational because people see you're actually running this business. This is really cool. I can do this too. And I love following their content because they inspire me. So boom, you get some followers. It keeps you fresh because again, it's not making you seem like a boring, sticky corporate place. You're actually really fun. You have some personality behind the business side of things that people see. So that will also give you followers. And then again, keeping it real, just letting people know like sometimes things suck. Sometimes you fail at things. Sometimes things are great. Keeping it real will also help to kind of push the inspiration and the freshness to your audience. Um, and this will lead to this line of awareness to consideration to conversion. So when you're starting out, the only thing you're looking for is getting awareness. And with Reels and TikTok, that's really what you're doing the entire time because again, it's going and being pushed to audience members of these apps that aren't necessarily your direct audience members. Your regular posts on Instagram usually are only shown to your most active users and audience members first. With Reels, it's the opposite. So awareness is what you're always kind of aiming for, but the consideration part is determined on how real and inspirational you are for people to relate back to you. And then that can lead to conversion, not only as followers, but if you have a business you're promoting in your content, getting them on your site and getting them to start buying your products and services. Um, and again, I put this here for making sure you have a business account, but really you can also have a creator account on TikTok and it'll give you more leeway for music. So this is just kind of dependent on what you feel is best for you. Some ideas for businesses that I have is to educate, to show, and to highlight. So educating your audience is like the easiest and biggest content idea for any type of business content, whether it be Reels, TikTok, or other, because at the end of the day, you're providing value. You're showing people something or teaching them something about your industry that isn't just you advertising to them, so they're more likely to stick around with you. But again, if you show your personality, it kind of makes you more relatable and people can like you and like your business a little bit more because they attach your personality with your business. So it's not just them seeing blank products. And then also highlighting what makes you different. A lot of businesses don't do this on Reels and TikTok, and I find that that is sad because it's a missed opportunity. There's a lot of people on both of these. And I wouldn't say they're oversaturated, but I do think that it's important to differentiate yourself so that people know why they should come to you in your industry as opposed to anyone else. And it just encourages that conversion again. So here are two examples that I put. The first being a TikTok that one of our interns actually created for our page on TikTok. And it was really cool because they did it kind of more graphic based, so it wasn't just them talking. And it just related back to the education purpose of showcasing things that people need to use. And we weren't advertising anything that we give. We weren't telling people come to our space. We only talk about entrepreneurship, only interact with us. We were just saying, hey, these are things that entrepreneurs use that are useful. So it allowed for people to not only feel like we were helping them out and giving them value, but they shared this content because they were like, oh, this is awesome. I want to share it with my entrepreneur friends. And then this other example is actually Target, their TikTok. I thought this was phenomenal when I saw it, and they basically shared like a recipe for how to utilize different products that they sell, but it didn't seem like you were watching a commercial. And I thought this was really genius because it gave somebody value by giving a recipe that they could actually do, but it also showcased the products that went into the recipe, and they all knew that they could go to Target to get it. So this would have led to direct conversion in the sense that they're getting customers to come get these ingredients. So I think that this is a really unique way, and there's a lot of different ways for businesses to do this. But again, if you just offer that value and then tie it back to your business, I guarantee you'll have more followers and more engagement. All right, guys. So we're almost, we're about halfway through, a little over. So tip number 5 is to always have an idea arsenal. So I'm going to throw a slide at you. And again, you can take a screenshot, you can take notes, or you can ask me for this later. But here are just some ideas that I brainstormed of different reels and TikTok ideas that you can rely on because it's very hard to start off and not know where to head. So I figured if I could give you guys some ideas to jumpstart your TikTok and reels careers, you'd be good. And I guarantee you, after you get past this list, the ideas will start coming to you. I was very intimidated myself when starting out, but now every day I kind of just sit down for about 10 minutes and maybe scroll through TikToks to see what's trending. And then I'll write down a couple of ideas of content that I think would be great to share. And I never really have any issues coming up with ideas. So I encourage you to use this list. I would love to see you guys use this on your pages. And if you ever need help coming up with ideas, also feel free to just reach out to me and send me an email. I'll make sure to put it in the chat after this. All right, so tip number 6, again, is to use all the features. I talked about this earlier, but Instagram and Reels both promote accounts that use all of their features because at the end of the day, it is a tool. So there are different features that I wanted to shout out basically because sometimes it's easy to overlook these things when you're already intimidated about using something for the first time. So the most basic is insights. Both Instagram and TikTok give you some type of insights. The difference between the two is that with Instagram Reels, you can't get as many in-depth insights as I would like, which I am surprised that they don't give you that much. You can go onto your regular page insights on your settings or on your page if you have the button, depends on how you set up your Instagram page. But you can look there to see what your most popular posts are, who's interacting, etc. If that seems too complicated for you, what I tell everyone to do is just to kind of get a look at how many comments you're getting on your reels, what types of comments you're getting, how many likes you're getting, how many views you're getting. With views being the highest, because the more views that you get on your reel, the more that it shows to you that audience members saw it, they liked it, and they shared it. So that way, Instagram started to share it to more people, and you got more views. So usually, I try to base when I'm planning out my reels I try to base them on my previous reels that had the most views, and then I go after views, I go from that to who had the most comments and what if they were positive comments versus if they were questions, etc. And then after that, the most likes. But likes don't really matter that much; they're a little bit more passive. When it comes to TikTok, if you have a business account or a creator account, you can go to your settings and you can look at the specific insights. So TikTok is a little bit more useful in that sense that they really make it clearly defined. Instagram's making it a little bit tricky, but I have a feeling that in the near future they'll probably update this to keep up with the competition. But the TikTok insights will give you the same idea of who's viewing it the most, who's liking, who's sharing, etc. There's also templates on TikTok on the business account where you can check out and see like where you can insert videos. It makes it a lot easier for businesses to utilize TikTok because they know that more people are joining in order to use it as a marketing tool. So they want to help out people who might be foreign to TikTok and didn't start using it a year or two ago. So there are templates you can use, but you can only use the templates from TikTok if you have a business account. If you want TikTok templates, you can go into other things like Canva. There is another site that I'm blanking on right now, but I know like Over, they all have recommendations for templates that don't require you to have a business account. And you can just input them into your creator account. But I would recommend if you are a novice and you really want to test around with all the tools that can help you, make your business account first, and then you can change to your creator account if you don't like the limitations on music. There's also an AI video editor on TikTok for business accounts. But TikTok also has a feature where you can just input your videos and then you can choose your song, and it does this auto editing where it kind of times your video to the song itself. Sometimes I like to play around with this, but sometimes it doesn't time it the way I want it to. So you can utilize this if you're really confused and lost and you're just testing it out. But I recommend editing it yourself just to get the best content. Again, with the trending sounds list, I think I have some screenshots in here of where to go for the trending sounds, but always check out trending sounds, save them when you see them, because this will be your bread and butter for growing. Use text, use call to action buttons, especially because sometimes people will still go on Reels and TikTok and not turn their volume on and just be scrolling while they're waiting for something. So if you have text, if you have closed captioning, it allows people to stay on longer because they don't have to have the sound on to still engage with your content. There's also pinning that you can do where you can pin comments on both TikTok and Instagram to the top so people can see that. And I think that's really awesome. You can also pin your actual content on your page. So if you have a TikTok of you promoting like a giveaway that your business is doing, you can pin it. So that way, that's the first thing people see when they go to your page, even if you post content after that, since it is posted chronologically. And then there's also a new feature that Instagram just added for Instagram shopping merged with Reels. I don't believe that TikTok has anything that's super direct as this, but if you have a online shopping account linked with your Instagram account, you can also link it with your Reels and utilize that so that way you can showcase your products in Reels and have people click on it in real time to shop. Alrighty, last tip is to stay trendy and relatable, which I told you guys I was going to get to. So, relevance is key on both of these apps. They're very fast paced, quickly moving, and you can still, again, create evergreen content that's useful, but you want to stay trendy at the same time. So, these are 4 points that I had. Some of these are not new, but one of them that I wanted to focus on is the third point, which is deleting reels. Sometimes on social media sites, especially like YouTube and Instagram, people popularized, I can't speak today, deleting old content that they feel like doesn't necessarily completely fit with their aesthetic or it's not as good quality as the others. And sometimes that boosts your content in that sense because it makes your page seem a little bit more cohesive. However, do not delete your reels or your TikToks because, especially with reels, sometimes your reels, you could post something in November and it doesn't start trending until February. It's very weird, but there's still a possibility that your reels could trend later on in life. So if you have a really good reel that you believed in and it didn't do quite as well as you thought it would, keep it on your page because I guarantee you it will be relevant at some point. So if you delete it, you're kind of just ruining your chance at that. Um, I'll also go back to point two, which is the understanding the trends thing again. Just make sure if you see a trending sound and you're like, I have this idea in my head, click on the sound on either of those apps and just watch like 5 to 10 versions of what people have done with that sound to make sure you fully understand it because it can be really awkward if you take a sound effect and you use it the wrong way and people are like, why did they hop on this? And that can really make you stand out as someone who's not a Gen Z person. So just make sure you fully understand the trending sounds, effects, or what have you when you're using them. And then again, just play around with this, play around with everything. The more that you do it, the more you'll learn and the more you'll refine what your content is supposed to look like, what your strategy is, what your aesthetic is, and it'll make your branding and content more consistent. So I put 2 screenshots here, and these are ways in which you can find trending ideas in both of the apps. So with Instagram, you can just literally go on Reels, and when you click on like the music button to create a reel, you can find this, which is just trending, and you can click on see more to see all of the trending sounds. And if you click on these little boxes on the Instagram one, you can save the sounds. So I recommend saving sounds that are trending so that you can use them later. But also, whenever you come across a reel, you can click on the name of the sound at the bottom of the screen and save that as well. So if you find sounds that you think you could use later on, just save them in your arsenal. This is also really good because once you start having like 20 to 30 saved sounds and you're thinking of ideas to make content, you can just listen to a sound and it might spark an idea. Um, TikTok makes it a little easier because they have a complete trending page. At the top, you can scroll through all of what the daily trends are for that day. So this is always changing, which I love. Some of these will be trending hashtags, some of these will be trending themes, and some of these will be trending sounds. And then underneath that, they usually put all of the trending hashtags of that day. So this is a really great thing again to check. And I recommend checking this daily before you start creating your content, just so that you can be on it if there's anything that comes up that you can relate back to yourself. And I put floor ideas of what is currently trending as of today. Routine videos have been super popular, especially on Reels lately, of people just showcasing their morning routine or their workout routine. So you could do something that's like getting ready for work routine, a productive day in my life routine, something that's relatable, again, both to your business but to people. There's certain challenges that are popular. This one in particular is people posing up their camera at anything, and then they have about, I think it's 3 or 5 seconds to run and try and hide behind an object before a photo is taken. It's something that's really random, but businesses could do this in their space and make it something that's relatable, especially if you work in a co-working space. Um, Passing the phone is another challenge, and anything that's spring themed is another trend as of right now. But again, just check this daily. It is always changing. The one thing I will say as well is do not see trends, make notes of them, and then wait like 2 weeks to do them because by then your trend isn't even going to go viral. It's not going to be that relevant, and it's going to seem like you don't know what you're doing because you're 2 weeks behind the trend. So if you see a trend, do it as soon as possible and then save the evergreen content for later.